that were not necessarily as inspiring, and we'll see what he decides to pick up as a support role, but super heavy mid lane focus this game.
Rise taken away, Lulu taken away, Gragas taken away as well. Are they going to keep that focus in there? Let's not forget LeBlanc still open in this matchup. Millenium, well, they played Ziggs yesterday against the Copenhagen Wolves. They've gone for the likes of Gragas. Nidalee is another one that's appeared for them, but LeBlanc will be the final ban here by Fnatic, and Kha'Zix's the last one for Millenium.
So they're removing the jungler away from Cyanide. Cyanide played Kha'Zix last week. Okay, he didn't necessarily have the strongest of engages, and it's something that I think the European teams are starting to learn to play. Kha'Zix is not super easy to play with and around. With Nidalee still up and available, and knowing that Peke has played it in the past, it is a potential pick. I don't think it's going to be first picked. You could see Elise. I mean, Elise is up. Cyanide ran it yesterday, had a very good game on it. It would be a safe pick at this moment in time.
See, there's quite a lot of discussion going on there among these Fnatic players as to what they're going to go for first, and they hover over Karma, a champion which they did play yesterday against the Super Hot Crew. Obviously that was Yellow Starring, champion which funnily enough we've seen Soaz himself running last split in that top lane. That is going to be locked in. Now for Millenium, Heimerdinger is actually a consideration here.
It was banned against him yesterday. So in their game yesterday, Copenhagen Wolves banned it as their second ban following LeBlanc. I don't know if they're gonna run it. It'll be very interesting if they do. It is 4.4, so those turrets, they hit incredibly hard and they've got a lot of resistances. The one thing, okay, I'm not gonna talk about it until it gets locked in. What Fnatic have done by locking in Karma, they've denied it from J-Ree, and we've seen just how effective it was in the previous game by Mixer. Didn't have the most impressive of laning phases, but once we got to the mid to late game, that mobility and that single target route allowed the Super Hot Crew to find kills and single people out.
Well, in the end, they changed away from Heimerdinger and to Renekton for Kevin in this top lane. A champion which, well, every single top laner does in fact play. Although you have to say that Kevin is one of the players that plays, I think, the least Renekton out of all top laners.
So as a side note, the Lucian pick in the first rotation is now the third time it's happened today. All 3 games has been a first pick on red side. This is also a mirror of what Gambit did in the previous round, with Lucian and Renekton instantly locked in. You are 100% right, we don't see Kevin playing it as often as the other top laners, but it does allow Kevin some measure of safety, knowing he can win that laning phase as long as he performs well on that Renekton.
And keeps it away from Soaz, who has had some great performances with that one. But the other champion that he's done well on as well is Shyvana recently. Won games with that against the Copenhagen Wolves and against Roccat as well, where he only died once over the 2 games and picked up 21 assists overall. Over for Millenium though now. We should actually touch on Fnatic's other pick here. At least we mentioned that earlier on. Cyanide did great with it yesterday.
So we've seen 1 ban yesterday, and it was 1 pick, 2 games. It just went through untouched. Today, it has been untouched in our first 2 games of the day. Cyanide is one of the few players who does still value the champion, and like we were saying yesterday, on the patch, it's really her clear speeds, the max damage to monsters that took the biggest hit. Her stun is slightly lower, and yes, her execute is slightly low on champions as well, but I feel like it was a jungle presence that was hit more, and it was shown yesterday because Cyanide roamed, he got multiple kills, he landed very good cocoons. On the assumption is he does the same today, it's going to help against mobile champions like Evelynn and Renekton.
Fnatic to finish off their lineup here with an AD carry and a mid laner. That would be a scary quick lineup if they went in with this one, with Shyvana running terror around the team, with Karma in there, with Sivir as well. But is that something that Fnatic feel like going for in this one? Reckless just switching through a few different AD carries.
I think he's got a lot of options available to him, and I would actually like to see the Nidalee coming out here from Peke. It's a fairly safe laning champion, has a little bit of difficulty wave clearing in the early stages, but those heavy wave pushing farming champions are out of the been banned out. Orianna is still up, which is something that Peke has defaulted to many times in the past. Alternatively, if they're going to go the full damage route, so Zed has been locked in. We've seen Froggen playing it earlier today. Peke is going to be running it now. With all of the mobility of the Shyvana, Sivir, and Karma, it's going to allow Zed a lot of time in those mid-game team fights to find the right target, to reposition, thanks to that immense mobility. What it also means is if Kerp is even thinking about putting Heimerdinger in the mid lane, one of the biggest things that counters a Heimer is mobility and dive ability. Elise can jump on him, Sivir can run at him, Zed can jump on him, Shyvana can jump on him. I think Fnatic have picked very smart if Millenium are even considering this champion, but I really doubt it.
I don't think so here as well. We've seen Jerry picking up interesting choices and hovering over them in multiple games this season. But what will Jerry go for here against Peke Zed in the mid lane? And another first time for Zed, actually. We've not seen Peke run him, as if we hadn't seen Froggen run him, but did well earlier.
Kerp's one of the few mid laners that still runs Fizz and has done it at competitive levels, has done it in recent weeks. If he wanted to run the Assassin into the Assassin, instead, he is going to lock in Xerath, and this is going to be our first Xerath. It has been available since IEM, which was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Very long range, very, very good siege power. But I'm a little concerned because it's going to share the same weaknesses that a Heimerdinger faces, in that you've got a very mobile, dive-heavy team from Fnatic. So the moment Kerp plants his feet on the floor to channel that ultimate, he's just going to get swarmed and mobbed by the members of Fnatic. So there's a lot of pressure on CottonX to get him ahead, and as long as Kerp can poke Peke down early, he's going to be able to at least outrange Peke. But the moment Peke goes in, he can just use those shadows to dodge all of the damage that Kerp is putting out.
Very excited to see how Kerp does with this Xerath in here. Other than that, Peke, we have to say we need to keep an eye on him as well, because we've not seen him bring Zed to the table so far this season. So a very big day of firsts today. Yeah,
we'll see how he performs in it. I think the composition he's coming into is also going to limit some of his targets. You know, Evelyn's going to be able to put that shield down. Lucian is going to be quite mobile. Leona is not going to pop. So we'll see if we can find the right person to blow up in those fights.
Well, you guys have been voting on which teams you think are going to win today. So let's check in and see how this match adds up. With a whopping 91% of the vote, Fnatic leads Millenium. Let's not forget, 89% of you were wrong in that last match.
You stole my line. That is exactly what I was going to say. Public opinion was with Gambit against Super Hot Crew, and Super Hot Crew, they bucked the trend. They proved that, you know, the underdog can still pick up wins. Considering that Millenium are so far down, we touched on it at the beginning of the game. I want to remind everybody, if Millenium win this game, let me put it that way, if Millenium lose this game and the Wolves beat Roccat, there is no way for Millenium to make it into playoffs. They have to win this game, and they obviously need Wolves to lose their game, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
Making it into playoffs is one thing, and avoiding a possible relegation is another. We're going to be finding out here if Millenium can do it as we jump in game for their matchup against Fnatic, a big mobile team. We're seeing Peke run that Zed for the first time in the mid lane. Mid lane continues to surprise us. Xerath here for Kerp as well.
Yeah, we'll see how Kerp performs on this Xerath. It has been changed. Like we said, it was changed in 4.3 if memory serves. So it's about 2 patches ago, 1 or 2. Long story short, his ultimate from old Xerath is now on the W, and Xerath received a new ultimate, which is an incredibly long range. I believe it's 2,500 units at rank 1. He gets 3 volleys off, and it is fairly difficult to land, especially against a very mobile team. You've got all these movement speed increases from Fnatic. So Kerp, he has to be so on point with landing those volleys and landing that damage.
I also wish our camera guys the best of luck keeping track of those Xerath ultimate charges as well. They'll have to be on fine form today. In terms of this early start, though, we see 1 minute in, a typical line defense. Millenium are a team, though, that even when level 1 invades and funky moves at level 1, when they weren't in, they were still doing it every now and then.
Yeah, and I think the problem was it never worked.
True.
There was so few times that Millenium actually gained anything from those early level invades that they may just be playing a little more defensive. You've also got to remember, with a new jungler in the form of CottonX, it's going to change that decision making. It's the jungler that is one of the hardest impacted in these early game invades, because it's his buffs, it's his camps that generally get stolen or taken away. And as it stands, it is a defensive start. It doesn't look to be any sort of late invade from either of these teams. And the only big difference is that Jerry on that Leona, on the melee, has gone for the Relic Shield as his first item.
And a standard start for the junglers as well. CottonX getting the help of Kevin to do the red buff, and a bit of help for Cyanide by Soaz on the top side of the map as he starts off his blue buff. This bottom lane then, interested to see how this one all works out. We've had a little bit of criticisms for Jerry recently with specifically his Thresh in the last 2 weeks. He's struggled to land those hooks and the flares and really just to have an impactful performance. And right now they're being zoned out completely by Yellow Star.
Yeah, to answer your question of how this lane's going to go, it's going to go terribly for Millenium. At this point in time, the immense range of Sivir and Karma is just going to poke down Lucian and Leona. They're going to need either the help of Continex for an early gank. He has his red buff, he's going for blue buff, so there's the possibility of moving bottom lane. Or they have to just delay, lose CS until they hit level 6, and then go all in. And that's the mobility I was talking about from Peke. He manages to dodge the Arcano Pulse by using his Living Shadow.
A very micro-intensive match this is, though, for XPK. Probably going to be exhausted after this one, avoiding as much as he can. But look at the damage coming in again onto Creatine there, right at the back. Continex is, though, now moving in there. He's going to be stealth up as well. Fnatic, they're at the midpoint in the lane. And as soon as they see Millenium starting to step forward, it's going to open their eyes to the fact that there is going to be an Evelynn there. And here we go, coming in. Zenith play did miss. They turn it around. Continex gets out of the range of the tether. And Fnatic avoid the first gank of the game.
J-Re needed to hit that CC. He was level 2, he had the Zenith, he had the Shield of Daybreak, so there was a root and a stun in place. Unfortunately, he did not connect. We do see Kerp, he's got 2 points in that Arcano Pulse. He still hasn't put a point in his E, which is the stun. Now, the stun is a little bit different to the way it used to work on Xerath. He used to land his E, and then he would need to follow it up with another magic spell to stun his target. This time around, it is a skill shot. The further it travels, the longer the stun, from 0.75 seconds to 2 seconds. And if Kerp is on point, he can potentially interrupt Peke running at him. So we'll have to see if he can land that, I believe it's the Eye of Destruction.
And Peke still managing to poke nicely back as well. He's running through a few of those pots. Meanwhile, J-Re and Creatine have had a bit more time to push further away from their turret in this bottom lane. If you take that Relic Shield into account, actually a little bit ahead in CS.
So yeah, at this point in time, Creatine is doing okay, and I think that a little bit of early presence from Continex is going to add some doubt to Reckless and Yellow Star's mind. They can't afford to push too deeply. And we did see Cyanide yesterday when he had his red buff in the early levels, managed to get I think 2 or 3 kills for Fnatic before the 10-minute mark, and it's what he's trying to rinse and repeat. There's a lot of damage in all of his lanes. He just needs to get in range, land a good cocoon, and follow it up.
And Renekton versus Shivani in the top lane. No surprises that Kevin has the upper hand in these early points of the game, and he's keeping Soaz away from those minions that have dropped low at the back of things and denying him from as much farm as is possible. Soaz, though, not scared to go out at this range, but we know that Kevin's going to have the upper hand on him, especially if Continex gets involved.
What I'd like to see from Continex is showing his presence in the top and the mid lane in the not too distant future. At this point in time, Peke is getting closer to having his death mark available, and if Continex is able to apply some pressure and put the seed of doubt in Peke's mind that Continex could be there, he could be moving in for a gank, that is going to allow Kerp just a little bit of breathing room. It's one of the best things about Evelynn in a straight head-to-head matchup. The team that is fighting against Evelynn never knows where she is. You can see Continex fairly close by, so Peke, I'm not expecting him to tower dive, but he is quite extended up that lane, using his shadows to farm. Doing a good job, but it is a risky place to be if Evelynn comes in from behind.
And went a fairly aggressive start. If we look down his starting items at that long sword, so obviously wanting to bully Kerp out of things there. He currently has a 10 CS lead. That bottom lane once again pushed up here by Fnatic. The poke coming out of Reckless and Yellow Star, causing a few issues for J-Re and Creatine. And the issues might not stop just there. We have Cyanide sneaking up through the bush.
Yeah, we'll see. Once again, it just needs to land the CC. Unfortunately, the wave is too far pushed, so there's no real kill potential here for Fnatic against Millenium. And in terms of this early game, Fnatic have just got this slightly stronger duo lane, so they're winning it fairly easily and obviously. They're going to get a lot of damage down onto this tower, and Continex, he's waiting in the wings. I mean, if he's trying to counter-gank a tower dive, I don't think Fnatic are interested in the tower dive at all. They just want the objective.
We are going to see the Zenith Blade land here onto Yellow Star, but honestly, what are they going to do? They turn around with the tether. Damage coming onto J-Re. Not enough to get the kill. Continex moves out. The cocoon will stop him in his tracks, and a bit of back and forth. The support's taking the brunt of the damage.
There wasn't enough mana for Reckless and Yellow Star to really continue that engage. We do see Reckless is backing away. J-Re still has Ignite, toying with the idea of going in, but needs to be so scared. With Cyanide backed away and knowing Yellow Star's not there, there was some kill potential, but you can see Fnatic didn't really want that engage. Now, it's all of a sudden Fnatic needs to defend the onslaught of Millenium. They've got 3 members in the lane, and we'll see how much damage they can get in the tower. It's going to be much more difficult with 2 melee champions.
Good poke landed there onto Jerry though, and we heard the low health ping coming in. He's going to have to just recall away. Mid lane, we actually saw Peke recalling, finishing off his Brutalizer, picking up the Boots of Speed and the Null Magic Mantle as well. So Curp's going to have a little bit of a tougher time. He himself, though, has picked up that Seeker's Arm Guard for a bit more damage. More importantly, I think, at this stage, that extra armor.
Yeah, and something we did, it wasn't on camera, but you can see the cooldown of Rite of the Arcane, which is Xerath's ultimate. It was actually used just to farm up that wave a little while ago. So using it to keep back, you can see Curp is playing it very safe against Peke. He doesn't want to be in a position where he gets jumped on and killed. He's already 10 CS down. Talking about the CS numbers, I think Creatine, along with the help of Jerry, is doing very well. On patch 4.4, the Relic Shield CS that is shared is also added to the CS total for the AD carry. So they're actually sitting even right now, 58 to 57, despite Creatine having a little bit of extra gold from his GP10.
I did forget about that one. You are right. Cotton X here, though, is waiting on the top side of the map. Red buff is on him, so as not really moving past the corner there of that river. That's almost his safe spot, how far he dares really move out, not knowing as Peke dashes forward. Actually going to get stunned up here. That means a good bit of damage from Curp, but Peke doesn't seem too phased.
Yeah, that was the stun that we were talking about. It is a skill shot. It travels quite slowly, in fact. But as Living Shadow was down, Peke had no tools to dodge it, with the exception of maybe flashing or using that death mark. And because you don't know where Evelyn is, Peke is getting some good wards. He's just placed, there's a pink there in the river. So if Cottonex comes from the sort of dragon side of the river towards mid lane, Peke is going to get vision on it.
It's kind of like getting run over by a bus. It comes a lot slower, but when it does hit you, it's going to hurt straight away afterwards. Blue buffs are coming up here, Curp moving across the side, and that's going to give Peke a little bit of time to have a go on Curp's tower, and actually doing decent damage. As Jerry getting caught here at the bottom, Yellow Star steps forward, the poke is good. Can they finish off? Reckless is going to pop his ultimate as well. Creatine gets off behind the tower. Oh, but has he gone too deep? Here comes Evelyn from the side, puts down Agony's Embrace, but it didn't really do a lot.
No, it throws down the Agony's Embrace, does not continue the chase. Jerry landed a very good Zenith Blade there, decided not to use his Ignite. Fnatic burned a lot of ultimates on that little trade, and it's going to allow them to take this tower down uncontested, especially because Cyanide has been seen, and I'm not expecting Millenium to stick around. They have backed away. Fnatic, early advantage, they take the first objective. They may even be able to go for Dragon as well, because they know they forced that Leona and Lucian back.
One big praise point we had for Fnatic yesterday was how quickly they were at seizing opportunities, pushing as a 3, rotating other men around, and just generally being on the point when it came to calls and timings. They've done it here again. Perfect time to move down towards that bottom lane, take the tower, but there might be a little danger here around Dragon. Jerry's actually going to go deep onto Cyanide. He's going to get leashed up, but the rest of Millenium chasing in. They've not got the speed to catch up, but they've stopped the Dragon.
More importantly, Millenium have the potential to force Fnatic away. They need to be a little bit careful, though. If Curp was to set up like a siege position, he could get some good damage and some good zoning. Instead, he needs to come back and defend this mid tower. Holds onto it, and now all of a sudden, Jerry's in trouble.
Jerry is caught miles out of things here, and actually Cyanide is just going in there solo onto him. Reckless joins in, and that is first blood. That can't happen. Cyanide getting a lot of damage back. There is the repel coming in. In comes the ultimate actually out of Curp, but they couldn't get the last blast off. Cyanide comes down just behind it. Cyanide lives after getting the kill.
Yeah, the repel managing to save his life. Curp held onto that final charge of his ultimate, didn't manage to connect with Cyanide, and that's the first one that we've seen. The amount, the range is still very good, but it is so difficult to land, especially against this particular composition from Fnatic. So they hold on to now a 2,000 gold lead. They have a CS advantage for their AD carry as well as their mid laner, and their top lane, I mean, Soaz, he's in a losing matchup. He's only 10 CS down, and you've got to remember he's got teleport as well. So the moment these bigger fights and objectives start to be battled for, Soaz can join at a moment's notice.
And Soaz, you have to say, he's played this one perfectly as well, knowing that Cottonex is the only real threat to him. Realistically, Kevin shouldn't be able to kill him in that lane one-on-one. He's not gone past the river point. He's not gone out to a position where Cottonex could really get involved with things. And as you mentioned, even with that, even with sticking back for a good amount of time, now, I mean, he's starting to get stronger and stronger at level 9. Got the workings of that Sunfire cape. Now he can afford to push out a little bit more, and he stays very, very even on CS. And as we see now, Fnatic coming back towards his bottom lane. J-Ree gonna get caught up in this one. They have to back out.
Yeah, there's so many minions. Reckless didn't really want to pick a fight with 2.5 champions effectively. All of those minions smacking away take off a lot of damage. So Reckless clears the wave out, is going to force Millenium backwards. The reason J-Ree had to run so quickly is they had no tower to fall back on. Got a lot of damage, and we'll have to see if Millenium can get in here. Good solar flare could be disruptive, but they're not even going to challenge. This is an uncontested dragon for Fnatic.
Second objective of the game, and a close to 3,000 gold lead for Fnatic with just 12.5 minutes on the clock. And there are the pings towards Soaz in the top lane. They know that Evelyn was around there. Soaz knows that he has to watch out a little bit.
This is going to be a difficult dive if they want to go for it. You've got Dragon's Descent, you've got Flash on Soaz and Burnout. So, you know, Cotton X is feeling a little bit brave. If he lands everything perfectly, and if Kevin can chase with Slice and Dice, yeah, maybe they can make it happen. But I'm not a believer right now. I think it's going to be difficult. So we'll see how long Cotton X hangs around. Got a ward on that blue buff. The next time Peke goes for that blue, he's going to challenge, and here's the dive. Once again, has to follow Soaz. There's Soaz away.
Soaz going to the top side here. Who is tanking it up? That will be Kevin. Cotton X actually going to take on that one. He's taking a lot of damage. Soaz flashes away. Here comes Cyanide around the backside. There are minions there, so Cotton X will be able to get out of this one, but Cyanide follows in. Has he got the damage to finish up? He could probably have both of them, you know. The Spiderling goes in. The damage is turned around. Cotton X goes down, but Cyanide dies to Kevin.
And
teleport. Yeah, Soaz is coming straight back in. Kevin flashes away. Soaz used it earlier and can't continue through.
It is going to allow Soaz to push the wave down, reset that freezing that he had hold on, and get some damage onto that top tower. They end up trading 1-for-1. Cyanide not having enough damage to get both of the kills because he'd used his cocoon earlier to try and save Soaz. Soaz gets away with his life early on, and now he's going to get a lot of damage onto this turret.
Rotation from the duo lane from Fnatic straight up to that top lane. That's where the objective is open for them, and again, they do it perfectly here. They're not going to be able to stop this one from happening. That turret is going to fall. We can see that Kevin's hanging back a little bit in his lane. Millennium trying on mid though.
Creatin's going to be in a little bit of trouble. If you look in the river, Peke is trying to get in range, but he walked across a ward. So Creatin and J-Ree were backing away, and in that situation, you could actually see Cyanide getting closer and closer to the objective. Unfortunately, no tower secured yet for Millennium, and they find themselves a big amount of gold down. So he's going to get caught out. He's got Dragon's Descent. We'll see if he can get away.
Oh, actually turns the damage back onto Kevin. Doesn't even need to use that ultimate. Just strides on off. Got a Vamp Scepter now at this point as well. Just seen Kerp doing his own red buff, because frankly the rest of his team were nowhere near to give him any help. Creatin and J-Ree being kept busy in this mid lane as J-Ree again goes for that Zenith Blade onto Reckless.
What I like about Kerp's build, he rushed an Hourglass, so it means he's less likely to be jumped on by Peke, so that's good. And look at the damage that Arcana Pulse is already doing. Can the Rights of Arcane do anything? That's one. That's two. That's not enough.
Well, all three landed, but not the damage there. Zhonya's Hourglass was the first item, now complete here for J-Ree. That's going to give him a bit more safety, specifically when it comes to Peke and the death mark that Peke can throw onto him if he decides to go all in.
Yeah, so with the blue buff, as well as the base cooldown on that Arcane, Right of Arcane from Xerath, it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. It's not the longest of cooldowns, and that's going to get shorter at level 16, and even more so when Kerp eventually picks up some cooldown reduction. I am expecting him to do that, because that is all of the power of Xerath. He needs to be throwing out those Arcana Pulses and getting down those W's, those Eyes of Destruction, as often as possible. One of the biggest differences from old Xerath to this one as well, you can now move while channeling your Q. And trying again on Soaz, no flash, and I don't think they're going to run him down.
No.
It's an uninspiring gank, but that's the power of Shyvana. Burnout for movement speed, Dragon's Descent for gap closer. You have to land everything so perfectly to kill her.
And especially when the CC from Renekton and Evelyn, despite, you know, the stun out of Renekton, is not really much more after that one, especially when Cotton X doesn't want to use his ultimate for that. We see Kerp there just clearing out that wave once again. Peke maintains a 30 CS lead over him though in this mid lane. Blade of the Ruin King is now added in to that Brutalizer from earlier on. Let's look at the AD carries there as well for a little while. 142 to 124. Reckless still having the lead. Both of them at this point do have Bloodthirsters though.
Yeah, the global gold is obviously putting Reckless further ahead, hence getting closer to most likely a Zeal or something similar, and we're going to see another Siege potential. Solar Flare is available for Jerry. Can he connect?
Oh, they're throwing everything on towards Cyanide here, but he can just walk out of ulti range there of Kerp. Yellow Star going to tank the turret up a little bit, and we see that Kerp not doing enough damage here at all.
And even worse than that, Jerry missed another, set of CC. That Solar Flare was not effective enough. Had the Solar Flare caught members of Fnatic, it would have allowed Kerp to just get all of that damage down, but it didn't happen. And Jerry's having a torrid time right now. The Millenium is behind in a composition that they want to be forcing fights, they want to be sieging. Zera's going to be a decent counter gauge, but here comes Soaz from the side.
Soaz from the side, that pulls all three of them away. Kevin is coming in as well, and he'll get the stun off there, do a little bit of damage. What Soaz will realistically just walk out. Fnatic pick up the third and final outer turret of this game. And look at the gold. Approaching 4,000 with Dragon up in less than a minute.
One of the biggest things that Fnatic has an advantage in terms of their team composition right now. Oh, Jerry's going to get rooted and maybe killed.
Oh, he's actually gone in there. He's gone very deep on this one. He will go down though. Creatine will pick a kill back up, but Cyanide dives in. Barrier used here by Creatine, but the kill will happen. Oh, will it? No! They've managed to keep him alive. Somehow he survives through. The Bloodthirst are giving him all that lifesteal back, and now Reckless being pushed away from mid.
Yeah, you were expecting 4.3 Elise damage. This was 4.4 Elise damage, and it was just not enough to get through it. But now Cottonex's going to get popped.
Oh, the death mark is onto him there. It's not enough, though. There wasn't enough follow-up damage there from XPK to make that one happen. It may be enough, though, as Soaz is going to dive in. He actually lands the E, but Cottonex's running around the other side. Yeah, he's got no idea. Doesn't have the vision of him. Kevin here is very low. Kerp coming across. Soaz feeling pretty strong and tanky from that, but no kills resulting from Fnatic. They did crucially hold on to that mid turret though.
Yeah, so no bonus damage from that Zed to actually allow Cottonex to get popped by the death mark. It means that Fnatic come away a little bit worse for wear. There are still things that Millenium can do and that can pull off, but the key for Millenium is to be in a stationary siege position where Xerath can get a lot of damage down and very importantly, allow Evelynn, Renekton, and Leona to be in the thick of things. If they are not in and amongst the Fnatic members holding them in place, then Fnatic are just going to disperse, find Creatine, find Kerp, and kill him.
Ward's going down. Dragon is live. Fnatic did take that one from earlier. Yellow Star going to speed himself up, was trying to get some poke off onto Kerp. They're going to push this mid lane out. Let's not forget that Soaz has got a teleport, so he can get involved in this fight if needs be.
So the point I was trying to make before that fight happened in mid lane is that Fnatic have got very good split pushing power with Zed as well as a teleport Shyvana. It's going to allow Fnatic to control the side lanes and control the tempo of the map very effectively. Millenium have to send either their front line or their sieging champion to deal with it, and that's not ideal for their comp. Millenium wants to be in a siege position. Now, Dragon's been started, and there's not a lot of members of Fnatic close by. Millenium have started the fight.
They're going to try and lock up Cyanide, but there we see him jump straight back off towards the Dragon. He's getting hit by Kerp's ultimate, but that's not enough. They turn around towards Yellow Star. He is actually going to have to use that Mikhail's on himself to try and escape it. The Ignite is ticking. Creatine actually finishes up there, and the rest of Millenium have forced Fnatic away. They even pick up the Dragon there right at the back, and the kills going their way completely. Soaz and Reckless both very low. Kevin trying to chase onto him. He actually has Flash available there, but didn't want to go for it.
And that is exactly what we talked about. Millenium were able to keep Kerp in a stationary siege-based position. Fnatic were so scrambled trying to deal with members of Millenium, and they were split up. They couldn't get on the priority targets. Now Peck is trying to get away with his life. He does have his Living Shadow available, so we'll see if he can dodges one stun, gets caught by the other.
All being thrown in towards Peke. Now Cottonex is going to show up. Can Peke escape this one? He's still running for his life. Is he going to get away from it? Cottonex goes off to the left. It's harder to spot the Evelynn when she's running at you. Completely invisible. J-Ree's running around from the back. Cottonex is going to speed himself up. Peke is going to have a shadow to run off to in just a second. Damage back onto Cottonex, who realizes actually he might be able to turn that run around onto me. And there is Peke still running into the mid brush. He does turn around. He's going to have a go at J-Ree, but Cottonex gets the finish.
Good stun from J-Ree, immediately locks Peck out. He takes everybody on a nice long run. That sequence of events was very good for Millenium. They grabbed 3 kills in total, they got a Dragon as well, and they've actually evened up that goal difference between Fnatic and themselves. What Millenium also demonstrated is an ability to play to the strengths of their composition. As long as Evelynn and Renekton were running around, keeping Fnatic busy, it buys time for Creatine and Kerp to deal damage. If Fnatic are unable to have Peke come in from the side and blow up one of those priority targets, which is so much more difficult because of the Zhonya's Hourglass on Curb, for example, it means Fnatic have to play the map game to win. It's going to be quite difficult for them to deal with that entrenched siege-based Millenium comp because of the items that have already been picked up.
So, in terms of items, let's have a look more down the AD carry route here. It's a big CS lead for Reckless over Creaton. Bloodthirst, the last whisper done for Reckless. On the other side, Creaton moving up towards that Trinity Force. Got 2 out of 3 parts of it, along with his Bloodthirster as well.
I think it's pretty standard here. Nothing super exciting. Cyanide once again going for some very early penetration. The Haunting guys and the Sorcerer's Shoes. It's also part of the reason that Cyanide's gone down so quickly. He's only got those sort of tanky stats from that Ancient Golem, which is not necessarily the greatest at this stage in the game. Cotnex is doing pretty well with that Evelyn and Pickett. Does not want that fight. He does manage to get away, but that's a good position for Kevin to be in. If he's able to 1v1 Pickett without his Ignite and with Dominus still available, maybe he can deal with that split push of at least one member of Fnatic.
I think start to back away, and actually most champions just going back into more of a farming phase in this one. You saw there Soaz and Creaton both on the top side of the map. Creaton, as I said, working up to the Trinity Force. His opponent there for now, at least Soaz, does have his Sunfire Cape already done, and does have that Cutlass as well. But look at this, Millenium starting to move through the Fnatic jungle. Now,
Millenium need to find a way that they can siege up with good vision. Oh, they've jumped on Reckless!
Oh, Jerry's gone very deep. He's actually taken a turret hit and a lot of damage there from Cyanide. But look at the artillery from the back there, helping get the kill onto Reckless. This is surely the turret as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. That was exactly what Millenium are looking for. The hard CC from Leona or Renekton. It's not over yet, now Kevin's in trouble.
Kevin in trouble, but he manages to slice away from it. The rest of Fnatic do change round. There's a slow from Yellowstar. He had to flash to get it. Death mark down onto Kevin.
Yeah,
I don't think it's enough damage, but there's the dragon from the side. Kevin going low. They do get the kill. The shutdown comes in. Curb's going to use his Zhonya's, but the fangs are going to sink down from Cyanide. He picks up another one and a nice turnaround. But Millenium are now looking for more. Cocoon lands onto Creaton. He can't stick around.
That was a very good Mikhail's Crucible and Shield from Yellowstar. He saved Soaz's life. Soaz was eating every single bullet of the culling from Creaton at the end of that fight. Millenium stuck around just a tiny bit too long because they didn't know where Fnatic was. They picked up the kill, and then they were trying to siege that inner turret, the outer turret in the mid lane, but unfortunately for them, Fnatic were able to respond so incredibly quickly. Soaz ran down from top lane, peeled in from behind, and was able to grab a couple kills in favor of Fnatic. So Fnatic hold on to a gold lead. Thanks to the kills they picked up, they're now in the advantage by 2,000.
Okay, gonna keep split pushing this one off as well. He's down in that bottom lane, not past the halfway mark. Reckless is making sure that mid lane's gonna go through, and we'll see Soaz in the top lane. Well, this 1-3-1 split going on. We can see there Kevin on your screen chasing down Xpeke. Cottonex starting to come into things as well, but Xpeke is he's gone. That's the Peke gone camera.
That is the Peke gone camera. It worked this time. It didn't work last time. He was managed. It did get caught out by Millenium, but I think what Millenium need to try to do is find a siege like they're trying to do now. They're grouping up mid. They're going on Yellow.
Yeah, and Yellow is dead. I'm afraid for him there. That's 4 versus 1, and if you get caught out against a team like this, the burst of Curb is pretty significant at this point. I mean, 0-1-3, yes, he's got the Zhonya's in there, he's got that Void Staff and those Sorcerer's Shoes as well. He can blow up Yellowstar,
yes,
that's for sure.
As long as there's CC that lands. You know, that time around Curb was able, Jerry was able to land a good solar flare. He's gotten a bit more accurate as this game has moved on. And Fnatic they're actively avoiding grouping. Fnatic are actively avoiding meeting Millenium in a straight-up 4v4, 5v5. And like we said, they're using that Shyvana and that Zed to try to control the side lanes. They are going to catch Jerry. Decides not to use the Death Mark, though. Once again, no vision from Fnatic. So in order for Fnatic to pick a team fight, I think they have to have absolute vision, and they have to get onto Creaton. If there's no clear direction onto Creaton, I almost feel like Fnatic's not going to start a fight at all.
Well, Millenium are already hanging around by Dragon. Peke's on the bottom side of it. They've got that advantage that Cottonex can have a bit of a scout around without being spotted if he's careful about it. And the rest of Fnatic do finally start to move in position. Peke has now shown himself over there, and we can see the charge coming in. Reckless takes the brunt of that damage. They're actually going towards Continex, who throws down Egg on his embrace. Here comes the ultimate from Kerp. It's doing good damage, or at least the first one did. Deathmark actually went on towards Continex. Will it be enough to finish him off? No, not quite. Soaz is chasing down for that one. He actually flashed in there to finish off the kill. Creaton's trying to get behind the turret. He does so as well. Peke picked up Kerp, and that is 3-0 for Fnatic.
Millenium should never have been in that position. Kevin was nowhere near. He was still pushing up in the top lane. Fnatic realizing that they had a 5 versus 4 position. They jumped onto Millenium. It was actually Cottonex that was caught out of position and not Creaton. Fnatic didn't care. They just engaged, ran him down. Now with the numbers advantage, Fnatic are going to be able to destroy this Baron. We do see Kevin and Creaton maybe coming to challenge, but they're going to have to do something monumental to pull off any sort of steal.
And Hellastar trying to keep Kevin out and doing a real good job of that one. Baron's down to 2,000 HP. They're going to keep going onto it. Who's going to pick it up? It's Fnatic. They get the Baron. Kevin doing great damage in there, though. He might even get himself 2 kills. Not quite there with Peke and Reckless bearing down. Jerry's going to get tethered up. Are they going to finish up? No, they didn't want to finish check the bush.
Death times were very short, so Fnatic playing it safe. They didn't know how close Millenium were to re-engaging on them. You can see that Cottonex and Kerp were about halfway down that middle lane. If you look at the fights, we talked about how Kevin, on Renekton, Evelyn, and Leona need to be running amok in the team. They only had 2 of those members. So right now, Fnatic just single out the targets of Millenium, and there's nothing to stop them. Kevin is 1.5 miles away, Soaz is able to teleport in, and truthfully, this is just a straight 5v4. Fnatic ran them down, got the kills, got the Baron. We did see in the picture-in-picture that it was Millenium that picked up that Dragon, though, so at the very least, Millenium come away with some global gold, but you can't discount the very smart, non-hesitant play from Fnatic.
And credit to Soaz once again, having a fine game here on Shyvana. Played a perfect early game against, always tricky against the Evelyn, that unseen threat, and again he's just spotting Cottonex running up towards that top lane. Actually, Peke is just hanging in there. He was trying to split push once again. Baron buff, of course, is on Fnatic right now, so they're the ones calling the shots.
Yeah, and to exemplify the item build, Pekka's actually got himself a Ghost Blade to go in here. They're going to go on Cottonex.
And I'm not sure you're escaping this one, Cottonex. A lot of damage comes his way. Actually gets away from the death mark there. Jerry giving him some good support to let him escape that scenario, but they still need to be careful here. Fnatic is still hanging around.
Yeah, the shield from their target, the face of the mountain rather, was very, very useful in helping to block some of that physical damage, but it is a slightly different build that we see on that Zed. It is going to give him some additional armor penetration when he, throws down the active, and what I think is more important and relative is the mobility boost that it gives you. Against this, high damage Xerath, you want to dodge his spells, and if you don't have a Living Shadow available, heck, push number 2 and run away from it, because you're going to have that movement speed boost from the Ghost Blade.
See, Reckless does have a Phantom Dancer with his Bloodthirster and Last Whisper here, so he just heals everything back up that Kerp previously threw down onto him. So as getting himself the workings of that Randuin Zone with a Giant Spell and Warden's Mail. Cyanide, we said before, he's now getting a little bit more tankiness to him as well after going for that early penetration.
Yeah, and it's very standard. Once you've got a little bit to work with, I think Cyanide needs to grab himself probably some magic resistance over and above that Spectre's Cowl. And the reason for that is Evelyn and Xerath are hitting very, very hard. Xerath is getting some cooldown reduction now. He's a little bit over 300 ability power with this Void Staff built in there as well. When those Arcano Blasts hit, they hurt. And we've seen him, basically 2- and 3-shotting Fnatic members when they get stunned up. So let's see how Fnatic deal with the siege. The wave clear from Millenium is all concentrated on Xerath. He's the only safe, effective wave player. So it's just going to tower dive.
Having a good time against Kevin there, just trying to force out the dominance. Meanwhile, Peke just split pushing, as we'd expected here with this set, going straight in, and actually he's going to be diving on towards crits, and that's a lot of damage, and the death mark is enough to get that final pop. Meanwhile, Yellowstar and Reckless come around, and they finish off the tower.
Yeah, very easy kill there from Peke, just landing every single ability that he needed to. Millenium on the back foot, they trying to defend against a Baron buff Fnatic, so they don't want to pick a fight, but they also can't really contest with the split pushing. While Peke was pushing bottom lane, Soaz is dealing with Kevin in the top lane completely. He's got the tower. I mean, a moment ago, he could have tower dove to get a kill, and Soaz and Shyvana is now outscaled Renekton. He's got the items that he needs, the levels that he needs, that Renekton's no longer a bully to him.
And Fnatic simply turn their focus to that mid lane. Again, damage thrown down at max range by Kurt, but you've got to land that damage. Cyanide says, oh, I'm going to tank this one up. A couple of auto attacks in on that one. 3 turrets on Millenium, 5 to Fnatic. Obviously, all outer rings are now down. Just the inner turret in mid lane remains. And I'm not sure that Millenium can really hang around, especially once they spot Peke coming in from this one. Actually, Jerry gonna dive pretty deep, throws the solar flare out. Cyanide goes back onto him. Reckless had to flash there.
Yeah, here comes Soaz from the side. Peke's in trouble from Cotnex.
And I don't think he's gonna manage to escape this one. This could be very, very close. He does get away to the shadows, but the speed boost from Cotnex comes in once again. Can Peke get away? We've seen this scenario before. Soaz coming in. Blade of the Ruin King will stop Cotnex from chasing. And Peke turns around on this one. Cotnex now finds all of a sudden that he's the one running away from the dragon. Soaz continues to get that chase on. There is the shield coming in from Jerry, and the rest of the team now force Soaz to turn away. Not before he's had a bit of a laugh, and he will get away.
Millenium were chasing Fnatic back in the mid lane, and because of that, now Fnatic have got some pretty good positioning in this jungle. If Fnatic can catch somebody out, they may be able to get a kill. Good slice and dice there from Kevin, and Yellowstar just looking for poke, but this has allowed Fnatic onto the inner mid turret. They pick that one up. A lot of map play, nobody really going down in that situation, but Fnatic coming out the better because of the incredible amount of mobility from their champions.
And we've got 1 minute 20 seconds for the Baron. The dragon comes up in a minute. Millenium did take that last one. Surprisingly enough, Peke is just going to go straight back to that bottom lane and continue his split push. This was last year's tactic from Fnatic. It was a tactic that so many teams couldn't even get close to stopping.
Split pushing with a teleport on one of the split pushes. It is the de facto Fnatic strategy, and it's what they did immaculate. I think their understanding of when to push and when to do things is great. And you know, Soaz, he's taking no damage from Kevin in that situation. And even with Cotnex nearby, they didn't contest it. Cotnex is still sticking around. Creatin's even in this top lane. And Soaz is just running interference. The longer he stays here, the deeper Peke gets to push that lane in the bottom wave. So it may look like Soaz is playing quite bravely against 3 members, but it's buying Peke and Fnatic time to get control on that bottom half of the map.
Few buffs being picked up, red buff for both sides. Soaz continues to push. Peke has come back from his trip in the bottom lane and will be soloing that dragon that I said was coming up in a minute's time. 10 seconds though now till Baron. Yellowstar's already in position with pink wards. He's going to ward down the back as well. Fnatic have full vision control of the pit.
And because of the map presence they've got thanks to the 4 sweeping lenses, Fnatic right now can dictate the pace of this game. They're onto the most difficult towers to get, the inhibitor turrets. And because they have the ability to tower dive, but it's very risky against a Evelyn and a Leona, and because it's quite hard to get to that Xerath. Ooh, Solar Flare didn't connect, but that was a flash from Yellowstar at least, so cooldown for cooldown, advantage Millenium. Fnatic have to pull Millenium towards them, get kills, and then go for an inhibitor turret. I kind of feel like even with the 10k gold lead, there is still a lot of damage and wave clear from Curb that could make Fnatic's life difficult.
And Soaz just continues to run rings around them in the jungle, even with that sweeping lens on and clearing things out. And Fnatic, they knew, I mean, Yellowstar went in, took the pink ward. He had complete vision of both sides there of the entry. He knew how safe he was. They did get another ward in the back, but I'm not sure that they're going to be able to stop this one off. Curb, I think, is going to have to be the hero. Jerry is going to fall. The death mark will be enough to finish him off. Peke going in towards Cotnex. Peke flashes away, dodges all the charges there of Curb's ultimate, and now they chase through. The Baron was picked up in the meantime. Kevin is going to fall down, gets caught here in the cocoon. Cyanide gets that one. That's 2 men down. Baron to Fnatic.
That was a 2 versus 4 that Fnatic came out ahead of. Peke jumped onto Leona with his ultimate, and we've seen Soaz just running interference there against the members of Millenium. With the kills and the Baron in favor of Fnatic, they are now on the inhibitor turret. They're going to get the turret, and they're going to get the tower. If Curb sticks around, he could get taken out.
Well, Soaz did step forward there, thinking he might be able to have a go, and there is a cocoon landing. Cyanide might have enough damage, and actually he will. It's Reckless that gets it in the end. Cyanide just repelling away. Soaz did live, by the way, in case you were just wondering from that one. The tanky dragon not having many problems, and look at this. Yellow star pushes mid, perfect time.
As long as Fnatic have a numbers advantage, they are in a better position. They've got an immense gold lead as well. You can't discount their plus Baron, so it would have taken a perfect defense from Millenium to even hold those objectives. But Fnatic, they find the picks, they find the kills, they find the objectives, and they've just played this game really, really intelligently as it has progressed.
And Fnatic gonna go home and spend the gold, which I do believe they should have a lot of. Yeah, there we go. 2,700 in the top lane. In fact, 4 out of 5 have over 2,000. And Peke had already been back just earlier on. Picked himself up a Sword of the Divine. So other purchases coming in. Blade of the Ruin King for Reckless on Sivir. Guardian Angel now for Cyanide to release. Aegis for Karma. Thorn Mail for Soaz, as if you couldn't kill him before.
There is so much damage across all of the members of Fnatic that it is just a matter of time before they get that damage onto the targets. Thanks to Peke having the Sword of the Divine for 100% critical hit chance, if he combines that with his Death Mark on even Renekton, through all of that armor and the Last Whisper in Peke's back pocket, I actually think he's going to kill Kevin. He can pop him with that Death Mark thanks to that itemization. It's definitely not standard, but when you've got a 15,000 gold lead, 8 towers to 3, Barons and Dragons, why not? Get 2 auto attacks down that are guaranteed critical hits, and that's it. You are finished, that's a dead crocodile.
And that's moving closer in once again, that Baron. Still got plenty of time, almost half in fact, still left on that one. Jerry's going to have to land everything, and they're going to have to do something about Soaz because he's run straight up the middle. All 5 Millennium men are trying to defend that inhibitor turret, and Soaz just running amok here. Literally amok right in the middle of the team. Cottonex tries to do some damage, ends up coming off worse for it. Curb's trying to keep the rest of the 4 away in that bottom lane by blasting them away as much as possible. But Jerry taking a hell of a lot of poke. They're going to step forward at some point and go for this one. Solar Flare went in, but it landed onto Reckless. He gets away from that one. Everything's been blown now, and Fnatic turn it around. Soaz is right at the front of the entire team. Cottonex core at the back. They blow up everyone at the front. Kevin should be able to get through onto the fountain, but Fnatic don't care about that. They've just taken 4 kills for nothing. The Nexus turrets go down, the Nexus itself falls, and Fnatic pick up a dominating win here against Millenium.
Flawless execution from Fnatic, executing 4 members of Millenium. Millenium tried a last-ditch effort. That fight was too little, too late. When you're 15,000 gold down, you need to land everything perfectly and kill somebody instantly if you're going to defend that inhibitor turret. Those things did not happen, so Fnatic just re-engaged, ran Millenium down, and another game from Fnatic where they controlled the map very well.
They did almost